Chapter 258, It looks like you guys are not afraid. Howen, Holost, Fudians in the arena and the live broadcast were all looking forward to the answer. That was because on the surface, it was possible to say that it was Zutui who won. After all, the second-year dragon, Dailijin, had lost a leg. It was also possible that the second-year dragon, Dailijin, had won. Zutui's legs had also been broken by Dailijin. He had even been whipped into the sea of fire. The lower half of his body, which lacked the protection of an energy field, had been scorched by the flames. The temperature of the sea of fire was extremely high. At that time, Zutui's mental shield and energy field had completely blocked Dailijin's sea of fire and Fire Snake's fireball. He could no longer control his lower body. At this moment, Zutui was looking forward to the major heavenly cycle genetic chain technique. As long as he had cultivated either the major heavenly cycle genetic chain or the first level of the Vira Tide Force field, he would not be as miserable as he was now. However, there was nothing he could do about it. Zutui had only cultivated for a short period of time. He had already worked hard enough. So, Howen, the audience's attention fell on Kukingshan, who was temporarily the chief referee. In the live streaming room, the comments flooded the screen, causing many students who were afraid of missing something to turn off the comments. Kukingshan, who was standing on the overlooking seat, had sweat on his forehead again. He already had a certain judgment on who would win the battle between the two dragons. However, the experienced Kukingshan understood that there were too many people paying attention to the battle between the two dragons today. The final result was a little vague. If he made a bad judgment, he might attract unnecessary trouble. After all, he was only an associate professor in the School of General Senses. His prestige and influence were still lacking. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become the main force in the tough job of being the referee of the Longhu overall rankings. Students, the results of the battle between Zutui and Dailijin were a little unclear. I am unable to make a judgment on the spot. Therefore, as the referee on duty, I will send the video of this battle to the school's specialist group. At the same time, because the teachers on duty on both sides had intervened in time to protect the challengers, the timeline still needed to be set in slow motion. It will take about 5 to 10 minutes, Kukingshan announced loudly. With that, Kukingshan immediately contacted the relevant people. This was an era of efficiency. The time of the specialists was even more precious. It was impossible for them to casually gather for a meeting or to study something. Through the direct information processing, specialists immediately studied the battle videos and gave their judgment. All the students who were watching the battle also looked forward to it. Who was the winner? Many students made a bet. There were also quite a number of students who quarreled over the issue of who won and who lost. In the office of the Mystery Branch building, Zheng Shahong pursed his lips tightly and turned off the live broadcast with a disappointed expression. At this point in the battle, victory and defeat were meaningless, especially for Zheng Shahong. Back then, his request was for Dailijin to slap Zutui on the stage of the Longhu list. He did not explicitly say that he wanted Dailijin to kill Zutui. But at the very least, Dailijin wanted Zutui to completely lose his ability to fight. It was fine if he was dead. It was also fine if he was unconscious. That was because only then could the first-year supernatural-type seeded players challenge each other normally and obtain a ranking. Then the first place of the supernatural branch's teaching assessment was guaranteed. But now, both Zutui and Dailijin are injured. Although Zutui's injuries had worsened and even his leg looked like it was broken, in Zheng Shahong's opinion. As long as Zutui could move, he would not let the matter rest. The essence of this matter was that Zutui had sniped the first-year students from the supernatural branch who had obtained a ranking, and prevented the supernatural branch from getting first place in the teaching assessment. Zheng Shahong did not want to think about whether it was because of the warning. At this moment, he had already reached his limit. His only doubt was whether his student, Dailijin, had used his full strength. From the looks of the battle, Dailijin should have used his full strength. However, Zheng Shahong felt that Dailijin's methods in the arena were not enough. At the same time, Wen Xinglin, the principal of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College, Han Kingsong, Wei Dejiang, and the others also turned off the live broadcast. The outcome of this battle was clear. The real outcome of the battle was no longer important at their level. Suddenly, there was a knock on Wen Xinglin's door. A few seconds later, the dean of the Academic Affairs Office, Yan Chen, arrived. Principal, there's feedback from the teachers of the supernatural branch. They were saying that Zhu Tui's behavior today is a little too much. He's almost breaking the spine of the freshmen of the supernatural branch. This matter had a huge impact. Based on the current data, almost all the students in the school were discussing this matter. Should the school intervene and guide them? Yan Chen asked. The smile on Wen Xinglin's face faded slightly. He asked directly, "Did Zheng Shahong look for you?" "No, it's a few associate professors from the supernatural branch." "What's their son?" This main idea was that Zhu Tui was too arrogant. He directly suppressed the freshmen of the supernatural branch until they could not lift their heads. Too arrogant? I think the supernatural branch is too arrogant. Then let them explain why the seeded candidates of the first-year supernatural branch did not participate in the ranking battle this year. Their actions are within the rules. It's a strategy, Yan Chen replied. Did Zhu Tui's actions violate the school rules? Wen Xinglin asked. This time, Yan Chen did not answer. Old Yan, remember, when we manage this school, we must not have double standards. Since everyone is acting within the rules, we will follow the rules. Don't use the rules to trick yourself, but use public opinion to influence Zhu Tui's actions. Besides, do you think our students are idiots? Elites, they are the true elites in this world. You can't fool them. As he spoke, Wen Xinglin's tone had a hint of reprimand. I understand, Principal. Since the actions of both sides are within the rules, we will follow the school's style. We will not interfere. Yan Chen nodded. Yes, pass on what I said about double standards to those teachers of the supernatural branch. I will. After the dean left, Wen Xinglin, the principal of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College, directly opened the slow motion video and information that Ku Qingshan had sent over. As the principal of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College, Wen Xinglin was naturally one of the top experts. After watching the video, Wen Xinglin smiled. Dai Lijian won this battle. Zhu Tui lost. Reason, Dai Lijian only has a broken leg. He still has the strength to fight. If Zhao Soxui did not intervene in time, Zhu Tui would be in a life and death crisis. After sending the conclusion to Ku Qingshan, Wen Xinglin suddenly stood up and walked to the window. He looked in the direction of the Longhu List arena. A first-year dragon fought a second-year dragon to the point where both sides suffered. I didn't expect that after so many years, our Wuxia Genetic Evolution College would produce such a monstrous genius. On the stage of the Longhu List, the medical team that had rushed over to wait for orders split into two groups and rushed onto the stage. A group of people immediately treated Dai Lijian's severed limb, stopped the bleeding, and treated it at a low temperature. They carried Dai Lijian to the medical bed and sent him to the emergency center for a limb replantation surgery. The other group of people rushed forward and gave Zhu Tui a large dose of low-temperature burn spray to reduce his injuries. Your left thigh is fractured, and your right leg bone is fractured. You need to go to the emergency center for a minimally invasive bone correction surgery. At the same time, we have to clean up the injured and dead tissues in the legs and deal with the burns. Then, we'll undergo epidermis and skin grafts. A doctor immediately made a judgment. There's no need to undergo epidermis. You can arrange for the skin grafting surgery directly. I can provide it here, and Zhao Soxui suddenly said. The doctor in charge glanced at Zhao Soxui and nodded. He waved his hand and was about to carry Zhu Tui onto the medical bed and send him away when Zhu Tui shouted. No, I'm not leaving. I still have unfinished business. Your injuries. I won't die if my injuries are treated later. Zhu Tui had a determined expression. The doctor in charge looked at Zhao Soxui, and Zhao Soxui only said, follow his wishes. Do you need a painkiller? Yes. I also need a wheelchair, Zhu Tui said. Zhu Tui, you're a little stronger than I imagined. Your tactics are also more flexible. You're an opponent. Let's fight again when we have the chance. Dai Lijian arrived in front of Zhu Tui before he was carried away. I should be considered to have lost today's battle. After I cultivate for a few more months, I'll fight you again. At that time, you will still be carried away, but I will stand in the arena and watch you be carried away, Su Tui said with extreme confidence. Dai Lijian was slightly stunned. A trace of shock appeared on his cold face. All right, I'll wait for you. You better work harder, otherwise you'll become a human-shaped barbecue in the next battle. Dai Lijian was carried away by the doctor. Soon, the wheelchair that Su Tui wanted was brought over. He was also given a painkiller. The painkiller was also very effective. Su Tui, who had been in so much pain that his teeth had cracked when he moved, suddenly felt much more comfortable. The pain had become very mild. He sat on the wheelchair and used his mind power to push the wheelchair. Su Tui, who was in the main arena of the Longhu list, suddenly waved his arms and roared again. The first-year supernatural type-seeded players, my legs are also broken. I can be said to be covered in injuries. My mind power has been consumed by less than 30%. What about you? Do you dare to obtain a ranking on the Year 1 Longhu list and fight me, Su Tui? Do you have the courage or not? I, Su Tui, have only been in school for 3 months. I did not cower when I was challenged by a second-year student. You guys. Su Tui had yet to finish his sentence when the first-year supernatural type-seeded candidates, who had stopped challenging the rankings because of the battle between him and the second-year dragon, Dai Lijian, stepped onto the 10 small arenas. The 10 small arenas were instantly filled up by them. The subsequent challenges were also filled up. Peter, I want to challenge you. Come and fight me. Chezin, who was standing in the ring, roared at the second place on the Longhu list, the Tiger Peter. Peter jumped into the ring. Su Tui, who was sitting in a wheelchair in the main arena of the Longhu list, suddenly changed his tone and gave Chezin a thumbs up. It looks like you guys are not afraid, Su Tui said. However, when Xiao was no longer around the arena, he had also left.